Okay, good morning, everybody. It's great to see everybody. Yeah, it's great everybody's here. So I'm gonna do it a la Rich. I'm gonna have notes, a little outline that I'm gonna go through, a little more professional. So this is kind of like a town hall style get together, not an official lecture. It's more of a conversation for the newer realtors to get a chance to ask questions of some of the more experienced realtors, and for some of the experienced realtors to share some of their stories, funny stories, happy stories, just something they learned through a transaction, or just share like a success story or something, right, with the new realtors, maybe advice, some tips. And so today, we put together a panel of all-star professionals for you guys. So we have Mary Guac with lawyer's title. She's a title insurance expert, and she's kind of like the guardian of the deal, right? Make sure that everybody is paid off. There's no title issues, that there's no fraud, anything like that. We have Richard Moore, the broker owner. Richard is more like the industry shaman who will most likely have answers to any of the questions that you have at some point in your career. We have Cecilia Castillo. She is the voice of modern marketing.
Hi, guys.
And then we have Brian Dunlap, who's a property manager, leads the property management division. And he's an expert on landlords, tenants, anything having to do with leases. He also does real estate transactions. So they're here for any questions that you might have. The first thing I wanted to start off with was some of the seasoned agents. If you have any stories, I don't want to get the rookies all like nervous about asking questions. So start off with the experienced agents, share stories or tips or advice or anything like that. Does anybody want to start it off?
Should we just start pointing at people?
Maria.
Me.
Yes.
Let's make everyone uncomfortable.
Come on up front, Maria. Come on, let's
Hey!
Thank you to do it.
Santa Hull.
Favorite.
That just happened.
So I don't know if this is a funny story or not, but it was actually kind of like you learn a lot, right? From each transaction, I think you learn so much, right? And so there was one transaction, it was a gentleman. I sold his house in Garden Grove, and then he went and bought a house in Riverside, paid cash, paid off all his debt, super happy, like living the life. Then I'm like, I stay connected with my people. And so like, I'm calling him. We went out to eat with his family and whatnot. Then for like, I want to say like 6-7 months, like he didn't respond to me, And then like a year went by, you get busy with real estate. And his son calls me, and his son's like, hey, I got this notice in the mail that there's a fraudulent deed attached to my parents' house. My dad passed away last month. And so the house was paid cash. And so because it was during COVID, I was talking to Mary about it, and Mary was the one that helped me with all of the transactions. So during COVID, what happens is that these people, it's easy to attach a lien, and it doesn't get recorded until they know that something's happening. So I think the death of my client triggered that lien to get attached to the house. And because like, if you don't look at these things and you don't look at the title, or you don't have a title rep like Mary that checks things out for you, you could sell the house and that person gets paid. So this lien was a $250,000 lien. The house was paid off. And so when I was looking at it, I said, Mary, this house was like paid off cash. Like there's nothing that's owed to this house. Anyways, fast forward, we had to get probate attorney. We had to get a fraud attorney. We found out that the notary was fraudulent. And so everything was cleared. It took about 8 months to get everything cleared. Then I'm like, okay, let's sell the house. So now we're gonna go sell the house. And the siblings are not talking. There's 3 of them. So there's 2 daughters and then 1 son. Mom passed away too. So So here I am, and I'm like, okay, so who do I need to talk to? Who's going to be the one that's going to take care of this, right? And I already know things from what the parents had told me. But so the oldest daughter takes care of it all. So I'm like, here's a probate attorney. Here's this is what you got to do. Anyways, we signed the lease. She's like, my brother lives there with his friends. Well, they were not paying anything. They weren't paying the bills. They weren't paying electricity. They were actually getting water from somebody's work that worked at Jack in the Box. They were filling the 5-gallon tanks of water to shower. They had tapped into Southern California Edison pole to get electricity. There was 3 pit bulls in the back and 4 drug addicts living in this house. So I'm like, okay, so I need to sell this house. So then my client, my like kid who knows me because he's like, you're the only one that's helped my mom and blah, 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 and whatever. So I go, I need to see the house. I go in and this house is a mess. There is clothing everywhere. Everything is broken. Nothing works. The toilets have not been cleaned in years. And it is just, it's horrible. Then I'm like, hey, everybody needs to leave, right? And he's like, don't worry, I'll get them out. But you know, these are crackheads. So like, like they're not just gonna leave. They have nowhere to go. So then they're like, I'm like, okay, so you'll get them out. So I had to do the right thing and post a notice, right? And you give them their 60 days and whatever, even though they're not paying. Well, one of them calls me. He's like, hey, I've been paying rent. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know this. So he's like, yeah, I give it to Carlos. His name is Carlos. I give it to Carlos.
The plum thickens.
So he gives it to Carlos, and then Carlos is like, oh yeah. And I'm like, well, that's a tendency. Like now I have to give like the proper like everything to this kid who's been paying, right? The other people, like whatever. So everybody leaves. But before they leave, they come out. And then 2 of them are fighting because it's like, oh, my girlfriend this and da da da. And now they're throwing stuff at each other. And I'm right outside. Like, I'm like, you guys need to go. So I had to call the cops. Then somebody's bleeding on the concrete because, you know, they threw something at his head. And so it was a hot mess. Anyways, they leave. And it took me, I want to say like another month to sell the house. I sold it obviously as is, no repairs, no credits, whatever. But as they're leaving, the older daughter's like, oh, I want to get some of my parents' stuff. And I said, okay, I'll go with you. So then they're like, you know, they don't get along. So the kids don't get along. And then the Carlos is like, oh, what am I going to do with my cat? And then the older is like, oh, I'll take the cat. And then I'm like, okay, so she's going to take the cat. And so I'm the one that's like, you know, okay, here, you guys can't talk to each other. Here's the cat, right? And then she's like, oh, by the way, I can't take the cat because my dog and this and that, whatever. I'm going to take it to the shelter. And my kids are in the car and they're like, Mommy, no, they're going to kill the cat. You can't take it to the shelter. So fast forward, I have a cat named Batman that lives in my house.
Wow.
That's a good story.
Yes.
I will say though, the kid ended up getting sober, and so he went to rehab, got sober, and I'm very, very happy for that.
Wow.
That's a good story.
All right, Karam, you said you had a story for us?
Oh, please come
Yeah,
up.
come on up.
Where's your host letter?
Okay, so in Southern California, how we are taught to be sensitive about different culture, right? So as you guys must already know, the Indians, their house that they are going to buy has to be facing certain way. So southwest and all those things. So you go with the campus and, you know, okay, this is working. So husband is not very sensitive about that. Wife is. So he told me up front, you know, I don't care whatever she decides about the directions. And we went into escrow, removed all the contingencies, right? Now it's ready to be closed in a week or so. And in-laws, her her parents came from Northern California visiting, and they want to look at the house. So we went in, and the rest of the group was looking outside, around, backyard and everything. And father-in-law and I went there. So father-in-law says, "Did you check the direction?" I said, "Yes." So he's checking the direction. He says, "No, this is the wrong direction." Come to find out, the correct way of checking is coming out of the front door. And the husband, unbeknownst to him, the buyer, his son-in-law, he checked the direction going in. So I told him, this is what your father-in-law is saying. He says, "Just shh. We removed all the contingencies, it's too late." So that's, finally we closed. Nobody was sensitive enough to raise any questions on that. So, and there's another story which is not so good. Leasing it to the students. Okay, at UCI, this professor called me that she will be a visiting professor at Harvard for 2 years. So she wants to lease this house. So if you're familiar with UCI, it's all, all the professors, all the neighbors are professors too, surrounded. So I leased it to the students. Sunday morning, I got a call that last night they had a big party. 6 o'clock in the morning, Sunday, I went there and I called my contact, one of the 4 students, and I said, "I am right outside your door. I need to come in." He says, "Okay." He was, half asleep, and he says, "Okay." He opened the door. The first floor, second floor, beer bottles all over. I said, "You guys need to leave today." They said, "Okay, promise me that you won't tell our parents." So that was again. I said, "You guys need to leave today." And they were smoking hookah in the garage. And I said, "You cannot." And they checked with another realtor who, their friend, said, "It's not a living area, so it's okay to smoke there." I said, "It doesn't work that way." Anyway, they left that day. So I was dead.
Thank you, Jerome.
Well, thank you, Jerome.
So I think there's a lesson to be learned there. I mean, that different cultures have different needs, right? And you should always confirm what needs that they have as far as their culture is concerned. Don't assume. Not that you assumed, it was the son-in-law that assumed. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions as far as escrow, loans, leasing, contracts, anything? Come on, new guys, new people, new ladies. Nobody?
There has to be.
I'm gonna have to ask questions. You guys are gonna make me do that? Okay, before I do that, let me tell you guys one of my stories. It was what would have been my first transaction if it closed. But I was showing, this is actually pretty good because I was holding an open house for another agent. This was years ago. And I picked up a buyer from it. And it was a couple. And it was a Persian couple. They were really nice. The wife was an attorney. The husband was a tech, some kind of a network tech person. And I showed them a bunch of properties. And I noticed that anytime he liked the property, she didn't like it. And if she liked it, he just didn't care. But if he said he liked it, she didn't like it anymore. And I showed them a bunch of properties until one day I asked him, I said, "Ali, can you do me a favor? Do you like this property?" He said, "Yeah, I actually do." I said, "Tell your wife you don't like it." And he said, "Why?" I said, "I just want to see something." So I asked him in front of her, I said, "So Ali, what do you think of this property?" He's like, "Oh, I'm not sure." And she's like, "I love it. Let's submit an offer." And I looked at him and winked at him. And I mean, not that I go wink, but I tried. And he looked at me and just like, "Okay, I guess it worked." So we submitted an offer. We got an escrow. I guess there's another side of the story too. So the sister, the wife's sister, was a loan officer somewhere in LA County. And she thought that the house wasn't worth what it was worth, even though it appraised and everything. And she said, "Oh, you're overpaying and whatever." And then they ended up canceling before they removed contingencies. I mean, it would have been a very good investment for them to buy that house. Anyways, it was in Laguna Niguel. And the other agent, guy was an asshole. Sorry, for the language.
Apologize to me.
He knew that I was a new licensee. And at first, when we submitted the offer, he was being so nice and everything. But when I canceled, his tone changed. And I'm not going to tell you what I told him, but he kind of stopped. And he said he was going to report me to the Department of Real Estate, all these things. I said, do what you have to do. Because he started threatening me because they didn't want to return the deposit or sign off on the deposit through escrow. The sellers didn't. But I don't think that he communicated anything to the seller, because the seller ended up calling me directly and asked me, why are your buyers canceling? I said, well, because we're asking for certain things, and I don't know if they're relaying the message to you or not, but they don't trust you anymore. And she's like, well, what do I have to do to gain the trust? I said, well, release their deposit, and that's a start. And she called up escrow or whatever she did. I don't know what she did. They released the deposit. And that's when the realtor called me, started screaming at me and all that stuff. And like I said, I'm not going to tell you what I told him, but he stopped. And but there's a lesson to be learned there. I mean, you just never know what can cancel a transaction. The sister giving her opinion on something that she has, doesn't know anything about, because the LA market is different from the Orange County market. So just be ready for anything. Everything could be going smoothly, and then the last minute something just pops up, or vice versa. It could be going really bad, and then it ends up great. I mean, I'm sure you guys have stories. Some of you have stories of, terrible transactions that you guys end up being friends with the other agent, or with the buyers, you get a little closer, sellers, or whatever it is. But anyway, that's my story that I wanted to share. Yeah, Brian. Yeah, okay.
I don't need to point that. All right, for all the new agents out there, some of you have heard this story before. Actually, I'll get into that in a second. So basically, if you're a new agent and anyone asks you, hey, can you rent my property out? I need a renter. The answer is always yes. Okay, if you have no experience at all, don't worry about it. Give me a call and I'll hold your hand through the entire process. Working with leases is how I got started in this business. I've been doing property management for about 15 years. And one of the very first leases I got, it was from a friend of a friend who was moving down from San Francisco. And I found him and his family a nice little townhome. And that one transaction turned into about $3.5 million in sales later on, when they went to go buy properties and they told their friends who their agent was. So that one connection, that one commission of, at the time, probably $800, that didn't feel like much, but it was a win, turned into one of the biggest wins of the career. Got other stories that we can always talk about some other time. I was woken at 6 a.m. by a tenant who said, hey, Brian, a hose on the upstairs washing machine burst while we were sleeping. And you can imagine how much damage if you just leave a running hose upstairs for about 7 hours can do to a home. It's about $78,000 worth of damage, we come to find out. So there's stories like that. Those are always fun. But the story I wanted to tell today has a little bit of an educational component when it comes to leasing, and it's about finding the right tenant for your properties. Wanted to introduce you to Mr. Eric Best here. This is Eric Best. Eric Best was placed by another agent. I was handed this property to manage after he had already gotten everything done. He wrote the lease, he moved the tenant in. And so I just wanted to show you, Eric Best here says he makes, put into the income, about $13,500 per month. And the first thing I do is I go to his pay stub. They got to provide proof of income. So if you can scroll down, it's a few pages to the pay stub. Here we go. A little further. Probably too small to see. Go back up. Right here. This number right here is his total year-to-date income. So to figure out what his income is, we take his year-to-date income and we divide it by the pay period. Here, this is end of August. So we're going to take $21,000. We divide it by 8 months, and we come up to a number that's roughly equivalent to what he tells us. So income, perfect. Eric Best, you're on a roll so far. Let's go back up to the top, second page. Page 2, here we go. Let's see up here, we've got identity verified. Thank you, Zillow. Zillow has gone through and they've made sure Eric Best is the person he says he is. He provided some form of identification, signed off, everything looks good. He's been a data analysis expert since January 2021, good. Residence history, San Francisco, all right, so he's relocating down to Mission Viejo. Well, now I want to go back to that pay stub after I know where this guy lives or what his previous residence was. On his pay stub, he lives in Lancaster, apparently. So he just told us he lives in San Francisco a couple pages up, and now we've got him living in Lancaster. That's one of those red flags you want to look for and you want to ask a question about. Now, he probably come up with some sort of answer that will satisfy you. Oh, yeah, no, I moved in with my parents in Lancaster while I was in between places or something. But that's one little red flag you can take. Look at the addresses they're putting on here. He wrote a cute little about me paragraph that we don't need to talk about.
Will you share it with us later?
Maybe. Yeah, no, he keeps a very well-maintained home. He rarely entertains guests, and he prefers a clean living environment. What a good guy. Can you believe it? I think we struck gold. All right, we'll move on to his credit score a little further down. Keep going, 746, I think it is. There it is. 746 credit score, fantastic. Wow. Let's take a look at the negative score factors. You have too few credit accounts. Okay, well, let's see. Does he have a car payment, mortgage history, credit card? We'll go look at that in a second. The date you opened your oldest account is too recent. Interesting. You can see that with like a college student who's never had credit cards before and they just entered the world of credit. Now they got an auto bill and a credit card that are within 2 years old, maybe. You have too many inquiries on your credit report. That's pretty much it. Let's go down one page, maybe. Yeah. This is on his credit report, and it's the only thing on his credit report. He has one credit card that he opened 2 years and 6 months ago. It's kind of strange to have just one thing opened 2 years ago on your credit report. So those are some questions I would ask about. Hey, just noticed, only had one trade line, is what it's called. What's the story there? So those are a couple questions you're going to want to ask your tenants if you come across issues like this. And then a little bit further down, Zillow, the credit report, I think it's down one page, yeah. These are all the addresses the credit bureaus have on file. That Lancaster address where he's receiving his mail and where his pay stub says he lives is nowhere on here. That's kind of strange too. Regardless, I think what happened is this other agent, had this home sitting on the market for about 2.5 months. And he had some guy come in that said, I need to move in this weekend. And I'm applying everywhere else, but this is my top choice. I need your answer immediately. When you hear that, that's another red flag. So keep that in mind. This agent approved him, moved him in, and then I had to chase his rent for 9 months. Every single month, he didn't pay on time. I had to send him a 3-day notice to pay or quit. And then we went through the eviction process. We got the completion of the process. September 22nd, we got judgment for possession. But now you have to wait another 2 to 4 weeks for the sheriff to actually come knock on his door and drag him out. So we're in this period at September 22nd. I got the notice, it's posted on his door. And 10 hours later, he had gotten a crew together and did the home invasion robbery over here in Irvine. That they were attempting to steal $3.8 million in Bitcoin cryptocurrency from somebody. So Eric Best is a fake person. His identity exists just as of 2 years ago. Person's real name is Nathan. I won't give you his last name, but you can find it if you do a Google search. Nathan and 6 of his best friends are now under arrest, and Irvine's prosecuting them. The kid was really good, I guess, at hunting down these cryptocurrency wallets. Kind of a hacker, so it was easy for him to come up with Eric Best and create him out of nowhere. And these are the things that we can fall into in our industry. It's pretty wild and pretty crazy. That's the wildest one I've had so far. Yeah.
Was he young? Was he a young person?
Very young.
Very young.
Yeah.
And this is just recent.
This is, yeah, September. I mean, the last arrest was made 2 weeks ago, and they found the last person who was involved in the home invasion robbery in Las Vegas. But it's got, if you can call it a happy ending, the home invaders got into the home and they started tying people up, but they missed someone. and that person was able to escape, get on the phone. So in the middle of the home invasion robbery, they had to leave. Nobody was hurt. Nothing was stolen. So a bit of a happy ending, but it's pretty wild what you can get into in this business. So that's my story for the day.
Oh, don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So can you address the difference between obtaining possession once an unlawful detainer action is filed and collecting any deficiencies or back rent that may be owed?
Sure. So you go through the eviction process. It's a long, drawn-out process. I think the last one took us about 62 days. It ends with them providing you a notice or a judgment for possession. Writ of possession is what it's called. So now you have legal right to take that home back. What you need to do, though, is wait for the sheriffs. If you just show up with like 3 of your big burly buddies and some baseball bats and try to drag these people out, showing them your writ of possession, that's not a good idea. So the sheriff has a service where they will come and do that. Unfortunately, that service is always backlogged by weeks. And so now you're waiting for the sheriff to arrive and to actually knock on their door. They go through every room of the house, they make sure it's safe. And then you can go and ask the court for a judgment for, what's it called? Monetary
Deficiency, yeah.
monetary judgment.
But the
And
point
that's-
is, you just don't, just because you were successful in regards to getting a lawful detainer action, having them removed, it doesn't mean you have a money judgment against them for any funds that they owe you.
So you want to get that money judgment. Well, your owner's going to want to get that money judgment. You usually turn it over to a collection agency or the attorney who provided the eviction. Many of them provide that same service. I guess also what I'm trying to say is renting in California is hard. Tell your clients, if you meet new clients that ask you if you want to lease their home, answer is always yes. I will lease your home for you. I'll place a good tenant. Your paperwork will be airtight, and I'll make sure that happens for you. But also offer them the service that we offer here at the company. We do have someone who will professionally manage it for you. That means you won't get any middle of the night phone calls. Any maintenance requests the tenants have, the property manager will address. They'll collect all the rent. They'll make sure you're in compliance. And we do it for probably less than what they're paying for their cell phone bill every month. So we try to keep it as affordable as possible. You'll still get paid on your tenant placement commission, whatever you negotiate. And then we just take over and collect a small fee afterwards based on the rent we collect. And it covers everything.
How do you find people, that want to rent?
How do you find people who want to rent? That's a very good question. Ever since I've been doing this, you get your listing. So, you tell me you want me to rent your house, put it on the MLS, and the MLS is automatically going to throw it up on Zillow for you and a handful of other websites. But I'll tell you about 85% of all the leads I get whenever I have a rental are usually through Zillow. So that's the biggest one. And you'll find that, yeah, once you put that listing up, as long as it's reasonably priced and you got some good pictures, your phone will start ringing immediately. And those are good, solid leads that you can use now, and 12 months down the road, you can ask them if they're ready to buy. So I definitely recommend, if you don't know where to get started, try to find people who are looking to rent their homes out.
But you don't want the last name of Best.
Right. Yeah, those really short names too, you got to be a little wary of. You get, Tim Smith, or 2 first names is always kind of another one that I think,
Hey, Brian,
Richard David.
Brian, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So for the credit report, because we really go through the credit, because credit is such a big factor, when we screen the tenant. Is the eviction record always show the credit report?
No, good question. If a person has been previously evicted, will it always show in the credit report? No. Many times that's negotiated. If they're going through eviction, at the last minute, they can come up with their attorney and say, hey, we want to negotiate to keep this off our records, but we'll give you the keys back to the property right now, and that's that. So I've seen that happen before. And I think just in general, like LA County and places like that, I think they're just not even reporting.
The statute limits the negative reporting associated with an unlawful detainer action. So it all depends upon the circumstances behind that.
Yeah.
So they may not have negative reporting associated with the fact that they were evicted previously.
Yeah.
So contacting your prior landlord is really critical to hopefully get some clarity in regards to what these people are like. That's just one aspect, right?
It can be, yeah. You can do that. I found that if anyone who's got a shady situation in the past, they're not going to give you a landlord who's going to give you a bad reference. So they're going to give you their best friend who sits at the cubicle next to them, saying that they're the landlord.
That's why I never called.
So I found.
Could be there. If they're really bad, it's never going to give you a real number.
Right. So there's that element too. I will say also, again, I'm going to continue to keep plugging away here on my business. We've set up a different screening system. We don't use RentSpree. We don't use Zillow, which are very similar in how they do things. We've got a new one that's come in. Before you even begin filling out your information, the identity is verified by taking pictures of yourself from a couple angles and comparing that with your ID. And if you start putting up those barriers, I think you're going to get a lot fewer Eric Bests. If he knows the first thing he has to do is take a picture of himself that's going to be available to me after the fact, that might be a barrier to entry where he thinks, well, I'm going to go find another listing that I'm going to go rent using my fake ID. And that's the same with the questions you ask. If you start getting inquisitive, hey, what's going on here? What's going on here? That might be what saves your transaction, because you might just say, well, gosh, if they're going to make it this hard to rent from them, I'm going to go find someone who's not doing all these things. So yeah, we've got a very thorough screening process. We're actually going to be integrating pet screening. I found out apparently the Irvine company is doing legit pet screenings, so that all these people that show up with their fake pet letters, you're going to be able to weed a lot of those out if we're doing the screening for your tenants, for tenant placement.
Another question is, do you every single time ask your tenant applications for a social security number? Because we all know Red Spring, they won't ask renter for the social security number. Do you ask them for social security number?
I require it. If they don't have it, we will pursue other means. And again, this screening service, I think, offers certain foreign countries limited credit collection and things, or credit lookups and stuff like that. But no, I require it of all tenants. You got to just know who's renting the place.
If you use the car form rent screening application, there's no field for them to fill it in, but you check a box and state that they are to provide it to you. So that's one way of getting the information, but it's not going to be a field on the rent screening application itself. And I think that's the deficiency, actually. It's unfortunate, but you do want that. I think for me, I would want that for every single tenant.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When someone call you first time, want to see the house,
yes,
what the question you ask them, or what any screen
sure,
you need to do prior show
excellent
at
question.
the door?
Yes, I don't like driving to a property only to find out these people aren't qualified, or maybe they have a pet and it's a no pets property or something. So I'll always ask about pets first of all. If you have any animal, don't say pets. That gives them a little bit of wiggle room, because if they have a support animal, they say I don't have pets. You just want to know about animals. Now, if they do tell you, yes, I have a support animal, you cannot, even if it's a no pets property, you can't tell them no. You have to show it, because it's equivalent of somebody having a disability and you saying, no, because of your disability, I'm not going to rent to you. That's the equivalent of telling someone with an ESA, a support animal, no. So you just want to know, do you have an animal? Is it a support animal or a pet? And then I usually ask kind of an open-ended question, like, do you have any income or credit concerns?
Actually, I'm talking to the safety question.
Yeah.
You gonna bring anyone call you to show the house alone?
Oh,
how you protect yourself and how secure?
When I was an early on agent, anybody who called day or night, I would hop in the car and I would show them whenever they wanted to. What I do now, and what you'll probably find more effective when it comes to rentals, especially if you're renting in the busy time of year, is say, hey, I'm showing the house tomorrow between 11:30 and noon, and I'll give just a 30-minute window, and I'll tell everybody who calls, I'll be there during that time. And then I let the people show up. If anyone was intending you harm and you let them know up front, it's a small open house, they're probably not going to show up to do you harm because they think other people are going to be there. I went ahead and got pepper spray, and I have my concealed carry license because I had one tenant meet me at the door when I was delivering him an eviction notice with his dog on a leash that was barking, a big old pit bull that was angry. And he's standing behind the screen door and he said, I wonder what would happen if I just dropped the leash right now. So after that happened, I'm like, well, maybe I should go get the concealed carry permit. So, as a real estate agent, if that's something you're interested in, I know that the Orange County kind of fast tracks you for those sorts of things, but pepper spray in the purse is always a good one too. Yeah.
So when you put your thing online, somebody calls you like, okay, I really like the photos, I want to apply. Do you require them to come see the property first, or you just like, oh, okay, you can apply? So
it's tricky when you say the word require. I encourage them. I say we typically don't accept applications unless you've seen the home. We just want to make sure it's a really good fit. But then if they turn around and they say, well, I'm actually living in San Francisco, I want the home, I know I want the home, I'm not going to be able to come and look at it. If you deny them based on that, I think you might open yourself up to a fair housing violation. Possible. So I just wouldn't risk it. I would encourage them. If they say absolutely not, maybe say, well, do you have anybody in the area that can come and maybe take video for you? I would hate for you to get into a place you're not happy with after the fact. And if they, shoot all of that down, ideally in an email or in writing, where they say, nope, I don't need any of that. I want it. I want to apply. All right, by all means, you may apply. Anyone else? All right, well, like I said, I meant it when I said new agents. The answer is always yes to leasing. I'm happy to take your calls at any time and go over any questions you have, whether it's on paperwork or how to screen tenants or how to even show a house. Don't hesitate. Carlos has my number. Text is preferred. I let a lot of calls go to voicemail.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, I have a question for Rich.
Great.
It's a risk management question. What is the most common legal or ethical rookie mistake you see, and how can these new agents avoid it?
The most common mistake is just the lack of transparency and disclosure. So there's nobody here that doesn't want to earn money. That's what we're all here. But don't put yourself in the position of not giving a thorough response. I think there's a way to respond to questions that maybe you don't alarm people, but that's probably one of the biggest issues we face. It's just a lack of disclosure, actually, and the concern. Or maybe you're just, and it's probably not intentional, and maybe there's a lack of awareness. But what I can tell you is none of us know everything. However, if you sense that something is wrong, then it probably is wrong. And don't put yourself in that position. As a matter of fact, that's really, the best advice I can give anybody. So everything that we do in regards to the training, we're just trying to make you aware. So if something comes to you that doesn't seem right, well, don't give an answer at that point in time. Tell them you'll get back to them and find out what the correct response will be. So that's probably one of the biggest things that we would face. As a matter of fact, we've been pretty successful in the last year or two in regards to avoiding any litigation. I will tell you that. But even Brian can tell you, for a property that he managed, we had nothing to do with the issue before we even managed the property, but we were still brought into litigation and we were still sued because of that. So it's just very interesting, and that's what people will do.
We're still batting 1,000 though.
Yeah, exactly.
Haven't had any
Exactly. That was so Brian, in regards to managing this property, there supposedly was a roof leak. It damaged all our furniture. This is the claim at least, but it occurred years before we were involved. And then we were hired by the landlord to manage the property. And then the landlord, of course, looked unfavorably at us for whatever reason. I don't know at this point. But the good news is, if you have a property management agreement, it's the landlord's obligation to indemnify us. So that's something else I think that's a real rookie mistake. When does your agency relationship terminate? When you're representing a tenant? Well, the lease agreement has various selections. When I turn the keys over, when I do the move-in, move-out inspection, we have to have a definitive date in regards to which your relationship with the tenant terminates, or with the landlord terminates, as a matter of fact. Is anything taking place thereafter, you're considered to be a property manager. And in most cases, if you act in the capacity of a property manager, even though it's not your intent, and without a contract, there's no indemnification, and we will be sued as a property manager. As a matter of fact, with our professional liability insurance, that's become the biggest issue in regards to annual renewals with professional liability insurance. It's not as much sales of property, it is leasing activity and property management, because there are so many obligations. So something else I have to mention to you with landlords, remember, within 21 days of a tenant vacating a property, the landlord has an obligation to provide the tenant both an accounting of the deposit, and if there's any money remaining due to the tenant, to disperse that remaining money to the tenant. If you don't do that, the landlord could be responsible for a 1 month security deposit plus 2 times that. So there are penalties associated with that. Don't let people get into that position. They can estimate what those costs are going to be. And then once they estimate those costs, you have to provide documentation in regards to any deductions. And there should be a final accounting thereafter. And maybe money's owing to them. However, maybe even the tenant owes money, but you need to put them on notice in that regard. So that's really, really important. And today, remember now, as of July 1st, in regards to any type of leasing activity, July 1st, before a tenant moves in, you need to take pictures of the property. And then before you complete any repairs at the time of move out, you need to take photos of the property. if you hope to recover any type of damages or monies from the tenant's deposit, and then pictures subsequent to any repairs. So 3 sets of pictures now are required.
And when you say you, that means the landlord.
The landlord, however, they're gonna be looking at us and saying, you didn't tell me that.
Well, I offered you the property management service to handle it. You turned it down.
Shameless plugs.
I got kids to feed, Carlos. Man,
No, that's great. That's great. So Rich, what would you recommend? Like, what's a good way to tell the landlord or the tenant that your agency's done without being harsh or like rude or whatever? If they're saying, can you call the landlord and tell them this, or can you call the tenant and tell them to move this out or whatever it is? What would be a good way to
How do I tell them?
what's a good way of saying it? How would you say it?
I think people are, first of all, I think that all landlords exceptionally are unreasonable. They're unreasonable. They think that you are their slave until the day you die, as a matter of fact, and then thereafter.
For
So-
$1,000 commission.
You know, how you explain that to him, I think everybody has a different approach, and I don't agree with many approaches, meaning I'm going to succumb to every single request, because it puts you in harm's way, as a matter of fact. So I think, you know, when you complete the lease agreement has a section, and it specifies specifically when your agency relationship terminates. So be sure that you check the appropriate box, right? I hand the keys, I do the move-in inspection, whatever the case may be, and explain that to them. Explain to them that, look, I am going to be responsible for any repercussions if I act in this capacity. Contact Brian, and you can sign a property management agreement, and he's going to manage that. Now, here's what I am going to tell you. A lot of times we get calls from landlords, and they're in the middle of a tenant dispute. We don't want to take that on. And suddenly, we sign a property management agreement with them, and now they're going to sue us. Is that fair to say, Brian?
The landlord's trying to buy their insurance after the fire's already started.
Yeah.
It's kind of the equivalent. You know, if they've got a tenant dispute already, I'm sorry, you need to get that solved on your own, and then we can talk about me managing your property moving forward. But yeah, you know, I think I've tried it once or twice, and it didn't really escalate to the point that it was, you know, anything we had to worry about legally, but it was just an awful experience. And, you know, if they want to avoid all the headaches and hassles associated with being a landlord in California, which is not easy these days, just tell them you've got a solution for them. And that's, you know, that's where we got to leave.
Yeah, I think everybody believes that property management is so simple. Oh, don't worry, I can do that on the side. However, you know, from our perspective, it's a combination of John, Brian, myself, other people that Brian employ in regards, because we collect monies, we disperse monies, we pay the property taxes, HOA bills, Brian manages the property, takes care of any deficiencies, and then we disperse the money to the client and everything. Not only that, but then we have everything set up in which we collect funds electronically from the tenants. So it's not just, oh yeah, I'll be your property manager, so keep this in mind. It's a lot more to it than one really believes. Not that this is a whole discussion on property management, but it's something to keep in mind.
Can I ask a question for Brian? How much cost for the property management charge?
Good question.
Roughly.
At the moment, if you have a client who's ready right now, we are charging our agents 5% of rent collected for your clients. That's what your clients will have to pay. And that leaves enough room for you to charge whatever you want to, is your tenant placement fee. Most professional property managers out there are charging between like 8 and 12%, and they're including your job in that fee. So you're not getting to place those tenants for any money. That's why we split our costs up that way.
5% of monthly?
Of
rent
whatever
or
rent
the
we collect.
year?
Collect.
So
That's
if I
the
collect
key.
2,000 this month,
Okay,
we get the
5%.
$100,
Okay.
so whatever it
Okay.
is. I will say that's likely going up. It's probably, if I had to put a number on it, it's probably going to end up being about 6.5% before too long. Because we've had to invest based on that 3 photos thing Rich is talking about. I've had to invest in this 360-degree camera and software situation. So anytime I have to go take photos, I put this thing in the room. It scans the room, takes a photo of it, creates a virtual tour, and it runs it through AI to catch things I miss. You know, there's a ceiling stain on the roof or something like that. The AI will run through and catch all this stuff. So it's very thorough. It's also very expensive. And I used to get disappointed when California would pass all these regulations every year. Oh, now you need a smoke detector in every bedroom, not just on every floor, whatever it was. But the more regulations they pass, the more they're going to be pushing clients my way, because it's just way too much for a single landlord to handle and to understand. Yes.
So besides the commission that you would get from leasing and placing a tenant,
Yes.
Is there extra compensation for getting us to?
At this time, unfortunately not, because we aren't charging hardly anything at all. There's not a whole lot of meat left over for some sort of like recurring residual referral. That might be something we can talk about. I just worry that if we have to build something like that in, it's gonna make it to where we're not competitive with other property management companies. And then you're gonna lose your leasing because they're gonna go with our competitor who's just gonna handle everything. So at the moment, no. The benefit is though, anytime I get a notice from that tenant that you placed, I inform you, and then you can go have a conversation with the landlord and the tenant to see if they're ready to renew their lease, if they maybe want to sell the home now. So that's the major benefit when you refer in-house like that, is those clients are yours. I'm not going to steal them from you. Nobody else is going to get them. When something interesting happens on that lease, you're going to have an opportunity to talk to your clients.
I do have a story I want to share.
Sure.
Okay, great. So I want to talk about fraud as a matter of fact. And this is more common with properties that are owned outright when there's no financing associated with the property. So it's probably been 6 years, but there is a property that is located in Beverly Hills. And we were contacted, one of the agents in the office was contacted by what was supposed to be the property owner. And what this individual did, it's so easy to look up the information and title to understand how the property is vested. So this individual had one particular property that they found, and it was in the name of an entity, an LLC. And he came to our listing agent in this office and said, oh, here's all my documentation validating the fact that I am the managing member of this LLC. I have authority to sell this property, and I need to sell it now.
Red flag.
Yeah, red flag, exactly. Exactly what Brian was talking about. So I'm willing to sell for $7 million. That's probably worth at least $10 million. So why does somebody have to suddenly sell it immediately? There's nothing owed on the property. So anyways, it's listed. We get buyers. The buyers, of course, have the right for inspection. Now, the excuse from the supposed seller was, oh, I can't allow anyone to view the property because there's a high profile celebrity that's occupying the property. So you need to just proceed without any type of investigation. So the same agent actually had an all cash buyer. So fortunately, we got to the point, you don't allow us to inspect the property, we are not going to proceed. So fortunately that transaction fell through, but then weeks later, I get a call from the Beverly Hills Police Department questioning me as what took place thereafter. This same possible person then took out an equity line on this property in the amount of $2.5 million without the owner's notice. So while I'm on the phone with the Beverly Hills cop, right? I don't remember the movies. Some are too young. He's telling me, well, the property owner is sitting out in the lobby with his attorney waiting to talk to me. So they successfully recorded a first trust deed against the property for $2.5 million. The money was wired out of the country, and that money was never recovered. So urgency, I gotta sell, I've got to lease immediately. There's something wrong. So keep that in mind when people have these urgent needs, as a matter of fact. But the other thing that's taking place, you probably, everybody hears the radio. There are ads in regards to home title lock. We're going to notify you if somebody records or sells your property through a fraudulent grant deed. Well, it's too late. Well, hey, I notified you that somebody recorded a grant deed, and now the county recorder's office has recorded that. It's a problem. So here's a thought. If somebody or people you know own a property outright, it's not as critical for somebody that has an existing encumbrance against the property. But if they own a property outright, anytime someone is going to try to sell a property, or they're going to attempt to record another encumbrance against the property, it's going to require the initial lender that has a recorded encumbrance against the property to concede to that. They're going to have to agree to that. They're going to have to provide a demand. So it's, in a sense, possibly a way to protect somebody that owns their home outright. Have them suggest to them, this is something that you should be doing in regards to helping them in a way to generate business, or at least create beneficial relationships with your clients. have them get an equity line, which is almost virtually cost-free. Somebody tries to record an encumbrance against that property, it's going to require that lender to agree to subordinate to any other encumbrance that may be recorded against the property. If someone's recording a grant deed, transferring the title on the property, it's not going to work because that lender has not been asked to reconvey their interest in the property. There's more and more fraud taking place now than ever. So those are benefits that you can provide your client. Other thoughts? We're in the marketing phase right now. If you have clients, you have people you know, what you can do, you have access to all this at no charge. Send them a copy of their grant deed, their most recent grant deed. You can print that out. If you have access to property profile, Mary had to leave, you can get that. It's all free. It's a great way to stay in contact with your clients. And also, they may not even recognize the fact that the property has been conveyed to somebody else, or maybe they actually created a family trust and they never deeded that property into their trust. So I've got an example right now. Shirley contacted me. She's been working with this family for 25 years. Well, the property owner is now a decedent. That person has a family trust. They never conveyed the property into the family trust. And the beneficiaries now cannot even legally lease that property out. So it puts people on notice. Hey, if you want to do this, you want to protect your beneficiaries. It's not, I know you created a family trust, but you haven't deeded that property into your family trust. You should take care of this. It's a lot cheaper now because let's assume in the example I gave you, it's still in this woman's name, the decedent's name. She has a family trust. So her options are now to probate that property, which is going to take months and cost thousands of dollars, or through the Hegstead Act, because try to prove that the intent was to put it in the trust name. So those are all things that you could be doing now with all your clients or people you know. They don't have to be clients, but they could become clients. You help them. So that's just a thought I had after talking about this.
Thank you. No, that's very helpful.
Yes.
So for you, share the story with us, I think probably the idea is don't just pay off your property, like pay it off. You always want a lender to involve this because they can avoid a fraud.
It could help avoid fraud, exactly.
So like, even your own properties or, your client's properties, even they pay off, you can suggest, get equity.
An equity line,
or,
right.
If you have a mortgage, just don't pay it off because you want lender involved so they won't have a fraud.
It's going to help prevent that. And they're not looking for homes that have encumbrances recorded against them. They're looking for properties that are owned outright. It's simplified. You may not know. And I heard you telling Carlos you had a story.
I don't know if I can share this story. It has made me look so stupid.
You might can I ask Cecilia a question
Oh,
first,
I'm sorry,
and then we'll get to your story.
Really?
Okay, Cecilia, I have a question for you. Come on up. Nobody's asking any type of questions. Come on, you guys are gonna make me do all the dirty work?
Yes.
So, thank you. So for a brand new agent with 0 followers on social media, which platform offers the best chance to get discovered by strangers in our specific market right now?
It depends. Okay. So who your audience is.
Yep.
So if you are looking to list Kodo, you have more chances to make it on Facebook than TikTok. Now, also if you
Why is that?
Well, because Gen Zers and millennials are more on TikTok than Facebook, and most boomers have an account on Facebook. So if you go to the casa, you're probably not gonna find, a person that just is starting his and her family. And maybe go to the casa, you can target someone that is trying to downsize maybe, or something like that. So it depends on what your audience is.
So it's good to research the demographics of the area before deciding what platforms you're gonna.
Well, yeah, and
Focus on.
also it depends on whether you're comfortable or not being on video. Because if you decide to do TikTok, let's say, but you are not comfortable doing videos, then you're gonna have a problem. Because, you know, no one, you have like probably like an 8-second span to get someone's attention. And if you can't really do it, then it doesn't matter if you're targeting Gen Zers. You're not gonna get them.
Or have a couple of drinks to loosen up before the video.
Yeah.
All right, so another question.
I have a comment about that.
Yes.
Actually, I have evidence what she said because Joyce has a Joyce Link group Facebook and Joyce Link group Instagram. So before she created Joyce Link group, Joyce has some friends on Facebook, right? So their age is between like the 30s, like over 30s. Then when we check the Facebook Joyce Link group reach, it's mostly the age is between 30 to 50s. So that's because it's like Facebook is kind of first time of the social media. So that people is grow up. So we kind of know that who is actually the age, who are
The audience,
interested in the Facebook. But Instagram, when we check it, it's like they try to reach to the other people, but it's more than Facebook that Instagram actually kind of approach our posting to the broad range of people. So they kind of check how many reaches per day and things. And I tested some videos. So like, for example, Reels, you can upload like 59 seconds, 1 minute below. But the most interesting people watch our video is between 20 to 40 seconds. So that is the kind of maximum is 40 seconds. Right now, a lot of people don't have patience to see the video. So we try to create it between the 20 to kind of 40 seconds. I try not to over 40 seconds. But for the education video, try to not to over like 59 seconds like that.
And for Instagram, you said the audience is broad. It's not just
Yeah.
specific to one age.
Right. So because Joyce, right now Joyce follower is not many, but because we try to post it at least try 2 videos a week, I kind of tested it, and actually you kind of put the consistent one. I see the growth of the views, not the follows yet, but at least the growth of view is getting higher. So I can see the statistics every day.
Are you guys boosting the ads or you
No,
just
we
the
don't do
videos?
that.
Okay.
We just do what Joyce said. Joyce said that kind of, for example, new listing coming soon. So that's just one post, but it's not that popular. But we try to kind of post it our holiday party. We posted a week ago. So that's almost reached to the 400 views right now, because Joyce never got more than like 300, but since I joined and I posted some videos, I see that it's growing. People is watching it, but not only the follower, but also the auto followers. So Instagram kind of push out the reach. So maybe you can try if you want to post the Instagram. A lot of tests. That's like I try to do is all the different kind of length of the post of the video and check who is actually interested. And another thing I found really interesting is that a lot of people is more interested in, rather than Joyce, like real estate posts, they're actually more interested in other stuff too. When Joyce go to the restaurant or we eat team things. But I actually look at a lot of Instagram popular real estate agents with like posting. Everybody has a different kind of thing. So some agents, their real estate posting is more popular than their personal life. But I'm kind of like comparing it, how Joyce, what people is interesting about that. But more reels things, people are more interested in video, but it should not be as long. So that's how kind of like try to do.
Thank you.
And also we posted one video with Richard. That's actually really popular too. So
Yeah, look at those biceps.
So that one video we took actually
yeah,
got
it
a
was
lot of activity.
educational video. I want to test Joyce too low. I said, Joyce, sure. But they
Shit.
exactly.
Very rigid in regards to requirements.
So because it's like I want to making a 59 and 59 seconds, but I kind of making a faster for the speed. I kind of making 55 seconds, but that's I'm actually testing it. So I tried to making a more educational video in 2026. So I want to see how much people are interested in.
Was he wearing a tight shirt?
in
the video? In the video?
Like that. So if I know more, I'll share with you. But this is the things I want to share with you about that. What I kind of learned.
Thank you.
So far.
Appreciate
Well, that's
it.
good to know. I'm telling you, she made sure that the video was less than a minute. And then it was after 5 o'clock, and Joy said, we want to film a video. And that's how much time it took. So we did it twice, right? The first one was too long. 1 minute video. And we posted it, and you got a lot of response. That's just great to know. Anybody can do it. I wasn't prepared. Joy said one question, and that was it.
So it's like I thought for me personally, I don't have a Instagram or any other thing, but I'm just testing it what is the best. Because right now a lot of posting Instagram, some is it helpful or not, but it's better you kind of post it which works. So it might be better you kind of experiment it. So how your audience responds about that.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And follow Joycelyn group on Instagram. You can see some holiday videos and some other things. So yeah. And I learned Canva everything when I joined the company. So Cecilia helped a lot, and so it actually works. She helped me a lot what I need to do. So based on her education sessions, I have been improving a lot. So that's actually helpful. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
she's here to teach you guys on social media if you want to do it on your own. So
our training sessions, every Tuesdays meetings and Thursdays, they're all posted. And surprisingly, who would want to listen to me talk and talk? But we have hundreds of people that follow these videos, so watch them. So the
from
videos
outside the
work.
office.
But I like her idea. 59 seconds or less. You're going to get a lot of people watching.
Yeah, I think my main thing, get comfortable doing videos, you guys. I know you, and the thing is, you can take different routes. You can do like information capsules if you're not comfortable doing like, viral, more funny stuff. But at the end of the day, people are looking, you're consultants. So like people want to hear from you, like, how do I do this? How do I get a loan? How do I, what is escrow? Like a lot of I'm a millennial. And a lot of my friends don't have a clue of what escrow is and what it means to do everything you have to do in order to get a house. So right now, I think millennials are going to start to buy most of the houses. So what are they into? Where are they? What are the touch points where you can actually meet them? It doesn't have to be only online. You have to get in front of their faces. So how do you do that? I think that's the question.
Closing those out.
Thank you, Maria.
So one last question. So what are some call to actions that will actually get people to DM a realtor rather than just liking a photo or scrolling? Are there any call to actions that?
So I think this is very important. Every piece of content you put out there, even if it's a print material, you have to tell people what to do with that information. So like if I'm giving information on, let's say, equity, right? Do you know how much equity you're sitting on? Then my CTA is, do you want to know? I can tell you for free how much your home is worth. And then you can start a conversation. A lot of the things that I've seen that actually work for real estate agents when I do a little bit of research is getting on Facebook communities and forums and things. People have a lot of questions like, hey, does anybody know how to start a VA loan? You jump into these conversations like, oh, well, you know, I have a friend who's a loan officer, maybe they can help you. And then you start creating these paths, and there's probably, you know, probably a network of possible clients. So there's a lot of ways to do it. But again, any piece of information you put out there, make sure that you have that call to action attached to it. And I think the CTA is probably the most important thing, because I don't know, like you think about posts that you've seen on social media. It might not, I don't know how to explain this, but let's say you're trying to get people to list with you. The CT, you have to find a catchy CTA that's not necessarily list with me, but maybe list with me because you want them. Let's say that I am trying to target people that are trying to downsize. I'm not going to tell them list with me and just list with me, but maybe, hey, have you thought about buying another house just cash? Or maybe you want to go and spend that money somewhere else because you've paid for your kids' education. What about you? And that's a completely different perspective on how people might see if they want to list their house or not. So think about those things. Like think about different ways to say things. Thank you.
On that note, with creating videos, I think that the more you're informed about something, the more information you have on something, the more knowledgeable you are about a topic, the easier it is for you to just talk about it, right? So like, I'm not good standing in front of people and talking. I get nervous, but you know, when you know about certain topics, whatever, you don't even think about that. You just start talking. So keep that in mind too. Come to the trainings, come to the office meetings, because you're going to learn a bunch, right? And the more you learn, the more confident you're going to be in what you're saying. Yes.
Another tip: if you have your Instagram or Facebook or TikTok account, and you're trying to be informative about whatever, try to post organic things as well, like relatable things. Do you have a family? Do you live in the community that you're farming? Are you around? Like, who are you? Not just like talking about escrow or processes, transactions, and all of this, but also for people to see you as a person and as a family, et cetera, et cetera. That's important too.
So you had a story you wanted to share?
Yeah. The reason is this is my practice to speak in front of people, for myself. So my story is kind of like a funny story. It's not really like educational. It's more like there's a saying in Chinese. Sometimes good things can be good. Sometimes bad things can turn out beautifully. Okay, so one day, actually, I had joined our office for almost 4 years, and as a new agent, I totally going through what you're going through. At the beginning, I'm really scared about those contracts. I totally understand you. And I learned so much from Carlos and everybody in our office, our agents. I learned so much. The story I want to share is I just joined our office. I just started my business like first year. And then I started doing farming. And my farming area is in Rancho Santa Margarita, Mission Viejo area. That's where I live. And I got a phone call from a seller. So he wants to sell his house because he lost his job and he has 3 kids. So before the meeting, I totally prepared the floor plan. I already know everything. I even practiced my facial expression. When they open the door, how I practice with a mirror, I think my smile, And then actually, I met this couple before at a community event. And then we start talking and they call me and they're a really nice couple. Once I set up appointment, the day I dressed really professionally. And Mike was there with me, because I'm brand new, I want to be there. When we opened I knocked the door and then the lady opened the door. And then I look at her and I just, I couldn't recognize who is this at the beginning because she doesn't have any makeup. I thought she is their relatives or friends or, just visit them. And then of course you want to, introduce yourself and then say, hey, this is realtor Sunny. And then she has no clue, like we never met. And I was thinking, oh, this cannot be the wife because I met a couple before. And then we're going in and I was thinking, just want to be polite. No matter what, even their friends or families, members, you still want to, know their name and introduce yourself. And then the husband came down from downstairs and he said, hey, Sunny, he recognized me. I recognized him. And he's Sunny. And I was like, hey, I thought this is like his mom or something. I said, is this? Because I want to ask him who is this. Of course I won't be stupid to say something else. And he said, there's a pause. And he didn't say anything. And I was like really just standing there like really awkward. And it's like, oh, what am I gonna do? Like he didn't respond. I said, oh, it is your mom? Because that's really what I'm thinking. And then he looked at me and like, no, this is my wife. And then at that time, I was like, oh, all the things I've been prepared, all my listing presentation, it's all gone. I better just leave. How stupid is that? It's not because the way how she looks is when I opened the door, I feel like I never met before. I think probably because her English not good enough, but they're not Chinese. I speak Chinese. And then that time, Mike is like he was untying his shoes and he looked at me like this. And I look at him, oh my God. And I was like, I was thinking like, it's so horrible. And during the whole tour, and we started our tour, I already know everything, but I still talking. But when I'm talking to them, my mind keeps thinking, oh, how can I make up about those stupid things I said? How could I make up? Should I say, oh, I'm truly apologize, I should. And I think that cannot be right because I keep like emphasize like what I did wrong. And I shouldn't mention that. And I keep thinking, oh, and during the whole time, even I talked to them something about how to sell their house, but I was thinking about how can I make up. And then after that, we're sitting on their living room, go through everything. And then the wife went upstairs, and a few minutes later, and she came downstairs with makeup on. And then we just go everything, like what we used to do, how we sell. And at the end, there's come up a story, which is a real story, true story from myself, like what I went through in life. The husband lost their job, they have 3 kids, they want to sell their house. Everybody's like, it's very, very difficult time. Nobody want to sell their house. And I share my story, true story, like very similar story as theirs. And then I just told them, everybody has their difficult time, but we have our family, that always support us, like once we get over it, that will be better, And then I kind of like emotional, and then the people really feel how you feel, and then they can feel, you really feel for them. And then after the meeting, I just realized, to be a realtor at the beginning, like a new agent, we always want to sell ourselves so hard. That's what I did at the beginning. I said, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I know this, I work. If you call me, I'm always there, I try so hard to sell myself. And after 3 or 4 years, what I learned is, to be a real good realtor, it's not about you. It's not about how amazing or how much house you sell. It's the people feel comfortable with you. They always, oh, I feel so comfortable with you. It's comfortable. It's really, you cannot really touch the comfortable, but it's so important. And also, you want to tell them you really truly care about them. You feel for them. You genuinely feel for them. A lot of people, they selling their house, it's because they have their situation. They want their kids' school stuff changing. You want to be there to help them to solve their problem, help, not sell yourself. It's not about you at all. It's be genuine, feel how they feel. And after that, they, I think it's at the end, it's pretty like happy ending. And then after that, I keep sending their text message. I truly feel for that family. And I send them a gift card and say, thank you so much for meeting me, give me the opportunity. After I keep sending a text message to check if everything is good, and later on, the husband find a job. And then he says, Sunny, so if I have any friends or the day when I want to sell my house, you are definitely the one I'm gonna come to. So I feel like, this is like I said at the beginning, sometimes, good thing, bad thing happen can be turned out beautifully, and you never give up. You always try to find a solution. The whole story I want to share this with you is, if I can do business and you can do it too, because think about it, call someone's wife is your mother. Like if I can do the business, you guys can definitely do it too. That's my story.
Thank you. So we've shared a lot of stories. Now I'm hoping to get some tips or advice from some of the seasoned agents here about anything real estate related. Holden, do you have anything that you want to?
Only about farming.
What about farming?
Go. This is how I started and what I still do every day now, and I'll never forget farming. This is what I say. This is true in any business, and we're talking about real estate. There's specific ways to do it. Of course, I do it a certain way. I've heard of a lot of people doing it a lot of different ways, but in my mind, how I see this, without that, I have nothing. So I'm doing it every morning, and more than that, that's my mode of operation. Other people do it differently, whatever works. And if I'm talking to new agents, that's what I'd say. Farming. I was in the business about 8 years prior to coming to this company, and I remember when I first got in, seeing that on a bulletin board, farming, and I've just always done that. And that's, if you're talking about advice, that's everything to me.
But what does it mean? Like, what does farming actually mean? Because like a lot of people are like, oh, farming, but do you really know what it is? Like, what do you do?
What do you do?
I don't farm.
We talked about this.
Tell me what
Okay.
do you do when you're farming?
Well, I do door to door. I do multiple things. I go each door. I don't knock on doors. Would you like someone knocking on your door? I've had that before. Yes, hi, I'm a real estate agent. Let's talk. Anyway, I put flyers on doors. I'm out in the neighborhood every day, over and over. I have the perspective of building the area, which I think is what the old timers in Irvine did. And I'm still in that mindset. When I talk like that, things have changed so much with the internet now, which took me a while to assimilate to. And where's Cecilia? She's still here with all the Facebook and stuff. And I work with Cecilia too. She's amazing with all the Facebook and videos. That catches a particular segment. But there's another segment I catch that's marketing with my farming. I do mailers twice a month that mail out to my farm, including the absentee owners. Everybody knows what the absentee owners are. So you hit those two. But I feel my biggest push is back to where I started when I wished I could get any kind of a listing. What's that like? When will it happen? What the hell am I doing? And that continued for a long time. Let me tell you, Shaggy, you know what I mean. What the hell am I doing? And then you get one, and everything is great. So it goes from there. But I'm in the same place that I started. I only have more farming to it. And I started with a small part of a farm, not the whole tract, and flyers on doors. And now I've got much bigger area and flyers on doors, plus the other marketing that I do. So as you start with a certain, start with the marketing that you start with, and you build and build and build. That's what I've done, and go through these tumultuous markets. If I could be so bold, my God, but it goes so up and down. And in my experience, when it's been good, it's been really good. And hopefully you farmed enough so when it's bad, it's still good.
Jump over. So what's the size of your farm area?
What do I have? I have 3 tracts in Irvine. That's about probably around 1929 homes that I foot farm. So just under 2,000.
Wow, food farm, just walk around.
Foot
Like
farm.
walk around and passing out the flyers, right?
Yes.
Wow, that's really
Yes.
nice.
Yeah, but
Yes.
not every week. It's a supplement. He has
Yeah.
mails and he has someone delivering, but once every
Yes.
every 3 months, you personally walk.
I walk every day to hit.
But he has his tracks lined up. It takes you about
Yes.
3 months for you to personally walk those, right? But
2 weeks a farm.
okay,
It's
and
2
then,
weeks of
so
farm.
how many times did everybody in your farm area receive something from you? Whether it's you walking, you mailing, you having it delivered. Once a week.
Yes, yes, and that's right now be 3 to 4 times. Yeah,
And then he holds quarterly garage sales.
yeah. As corny as that sounds, and it was something in the beginning. It still is. My perspective is people in my farms have gotten used to that. They expect it, so that's a good thing. You keep that going, and it becomes a part of their year too. Because I see same people and different people each time, so it builds and it builds even at this point. Do the garage sales. You advertise in the magazines that go out to the farms. So you touch on everything you can and just keep building. Yeah, that's what I do.
Can you do me a favor? I hate to ask you this, but what do you do to prepare for a garage sale to make it successful?
And I would be happy to discuss. That's a secret outside of this company.
Okay.
You go somewhere else, don't ask me. Oh my God.
Just go to his garage sales.
Sign up for my garage sale, and if you don't have a house in my farm, I'll get you.
Thank you for disclosing all of your secrets, Ola.
You know, hold on, it's really something. I want to share something about hold on, okay? So sometimes, cause he always like, passing out the flyers, walk around the neighborhood. I think the reason is he wants the people constantly see his face.
Yeah.
And one day was really, really, really heavy, and he put his rain boots on.
Oh my God.
He keep doing it. I was like, wow, that's really what a like.
I tell you,
I
tell you something. They see you when you don't know they see you. They're looking through the windows, etc. I know that for a fact. As corny as this sounds, today I wave at the cars going by. Okay, a lot of them live in the track and they know who you are. And I swear to God, even today, a lot of them wave back. As strange as that sounds, that builds. I was foot farming Green Tree. Was it a couple weeks ago with those bags? And it was pouring. And I know this sounds crazy. I stick to a particular schedule. And I have an umbrella and I don't get the stuff wet. And I didn't know this lady, and she was out in her little covered courtyard. And it was perfect because I walked right up to her, the bag. Hello, I'm hoping Bowersock, blah, blah, blah. And she looks at me kind of with a smile. She goes, "You are crazy." And I, thank you. Do you think she's going to remember me?
I'll never forget you.
Promise? That sounds stupid and crazy, but to get that "you are crazy" and hand it to her, how much money is that going to be worth, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. They do not see you, and you're going, "What the hell am I doing?" Well, they do see you. That's been my experience. And preparing for the garage sale starts months before, and a lot of things. You can't just do it a few weeks before. In my experience, it builds and it builds. I do all sorts of advertising with flyers, the publications. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
All the
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I didn't mean to stop you. I just meant thank you for giving us some information. That's all.
I do all the advertising that I do. We just put the garage sale stuff on it. You've got to get their attention. if you, a couple months before, and they're like, oh my God, but then they remember it a couple months later and sign up. That's been my experience. And I've had neighbors in College Park. This, can I use the word Carlos used before? I will. This asshole. And he's actually recently moved out of the track. He's called the police on me several times for the thing. And you know what? It didn't stop. I mean, there was jam traffic in College Park. But this is the kind of thing. He's called me multiple times and threatened me, and we still went on. And by the way, you know, it's been my experience. I don't get yelled at in my farms that have been in for years now, but when I was newer, I got yelled at by people.
And chased?
Oh, I've been chased by dogs, and I'm not kidding. All sorts of stuff, man. It's crazy.
Every time when I pass out my flyers, it's so hard. I think, oh, maybe I just, skip one time. I always think about you. You put your rain boots on and go.
Yeah, I got boots in the umbrella.
Yeah.
No matter what, stick to your schedule. Yeah. So that's what I do.
Thank you all. You must have a question. You always do every time you're here.
I don't have one right now.
You don't?
No.
Oh, that's a surprise.
So these are the types of things, types of stories and experiences that I want you guys to hear. Is like the farming, it's great, educational, all that stuff, right? But being chased by dogs, like, these are things that no one talks about, right? And that I'm sure a lot of people go through. But the goal for, when you're farming is you got to be consistent, and you want to be the professional that they contact or they think about when they think about selling their house. And by you sending out flyers or mailers or walking the farm or whatever, that's what that does. So we have a few agents in the office that are really good at that.
I would like to touch on something you just said.
Yes.
In my opinion, real quick, I've seen people dress in sweats and farm like that. But once again, I always farm in my work clothes. And you may want to do this too, because they see you. And when they see you out of the window, even if you don't talk to them and you don't see them, they feel something about you. Does that look like the guy in the picture in the flyer?
Yeah. But for a woman with high heels on, that would be very difficult to walk around.
Karam, you had something?
I just want to add, two people I respect most in this industry as far as the farming is concerned, Holden and Mary Guak. No matter what, Mary Guak will show up here afternoon, Friday afternoon. There's only one agent, and she's still door knock. Same thing with Holden. I'm sure there are others that's good, but these two people are more specific.
Thank you. So are there any questions? Any other questions? I don't want to hold you guys too long. We've done long enough. I don't want to bore you guys, but it's been pretty entertaining.
Yes, it was. Carlos. Great idea, Carlos.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Carlos.
All right, so we'll end it with that. Thank you, everybody. There's still donuts and fruit back there.
So you're concluding the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming, everybody. It's very nice of you. Carlos, great idea.